education. My name is Greg Weaver, and this is ENG4E, Grade 12 Workplace English. We're doing everyone listening across the North State at home, your learning center, or Mill Express View. To call and join our class, you can call 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017 or 2983 in the Sioux Lookout, Lac Seul, or Dryden areas. So let's welcome everyone back to class tonight. It's the first class of the week. A quick reminder that our class tomorrow night will be canceled. I'm going to be traveling to Pekanjigum on a community visit. We're going to open up our learning center. So because I will be traveling, our class will be canceled tomorrow. A mega class will be scheduled at a later date. Additionally, we are now into our fourth week of classes. So you really need to work on getting your work in if you haven't done it yet. It's important not to fall behind in the course. Fall behind, it's a lot harder to get caught up and to get the work in to earn your credit. So try and get your work in as soon as possible. So that's most of my announcements. What we're doing today, we're going to keep reading in our novel. We're looking into Lesson 7. And currently we're just in Chapter 12. So we're going to finish reading Chapter 12. And then we're going to read part of 13. And depending on the time, we may read 14 as well. So we're picking where we left off on class on Thursday. And so we were looking at, in the beginning of chapter 12, I'm reading along on the screen here. If you're following along in your course novel, we're picking up at the top of page 91 in your course novel. At the top of page 91. So, tired? Well, it is getting late, he said, just trying to understand what she was saying. Not that tired. Tired of living with you. Tired of your grumpiness. Tired of being your wife. What followed was a long dissertation of his faults and how many times she had tried to reach out to him to let him know that she wasn't happy, that something was wrong in their marriage. But true to his nature, he had only seen what he wanted to see. He had never noticed her going to bed after him, or spending more time at her mother's, or simply not talking anymore. Marriages were a lot like houseplants. They had to be nurtured and looked after. Alone, they shrivel up and die. And Keith was a hunter, not a gardener. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And with that, 18 years of marriage had begun its slow journey to ending. Keith looked at her as if it was a joke. It wasn't, or he was a joke. Claudia got up, grabbed her jacket, and walked out the door. It was a dramatic exit for sure. But over a year later, Keith could still hear the door closing in his mind. He always thought they'd be together forever. That's what married couples were supposed to be. And that's how Tiffany found him, still sitting on the couch as he got home an hour later. Still sitting like a deer in the headlights, with H.M. were bearing down on him. Claudia had gone over to her Kim's to tell Tiffany what was happening. Together, they sat in silence for hours. The sun disappeared, then reappeared. Granny Ruth, not feeling well, had gone to bed early. And it was there, on the couch early the next morning, that she found them still sitting there, and learned how their family had changed forever. Not really caring about the Pandora's box he had just opened, Pierre was unsure of how to respond. Instead, there was an awkward silence in the room. I see, I'm sorry is all he could muster. Clearing his throat, Keith went back to preparing for his day. Yeah, well, like I said, something's happened. So all the strangers come to our lake. So are you with your family? Keith composed, my family? Yeah, the ones who would have fought in the war and stayed behind. A car's coming down the road, but instead of turning the driveway, it kept going. Another duck hunter, no doubt, getting an early start. Darn that Charlie. Keith muttered. Grabbing his things, Keith went to the front door and headed out. Midnight saw him emerging from the front door and started to wag his tail. Then he saw a tall, dark stranger behind him. The wagging tail suddenly took between its legs. Several whimpers followed as Midnight backed his little dog up, almost pushing it over. Yeah, of course. Actually, my father, I mean my great-grandfather, just in the First World War, not the Second. Roots there go way back. Keith took a seat in the steps. Pierre, however, preferred to stand. Wow, your family's been over there for a long time. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You sure look too full-blooded to me. You can almost pass as my father or uncles. Actually, I've got a lot of different types of blood flowing in my veins. But I still consider myself an Anishinaabe. Reaching back, Keith slapped him on the leg. Well, good for you. You got a lot of people who show up claiming to be 164th, something like that, and looking more than a ghost. Your great-grandfather's genes sure were strong. Pierre thought for a moment, assessing everything that had just been said. He decided to solidify his story. He also mentioned my grandmother on my other side was also Anishinaabe. That might account for my more aboriginal appearance. He turned around. Look, she was. She could have been in the army, too. Simon Pierre considered his options. It had been a long time since he had to explain his supposed background in such detailed manner. Part of a dance troupe, traditional native dance troupe, that was touring Europe at the time. She met my grandfather, and the rest, as they say, is history. He hoped that would be enough to satisfy the hunter. His explanation was getting far too complicated. Lies like stories should be simple. Now it was Keith's turn to be silent. He absent-mindedly flicked the safety off and then on once more. Then after some time, I said, wow, it's some story. Your life's got a lot more interesting than mine, that's for sure. The lonely sound of a motorboat drifted from the lake. More hunters, less ducks, Keith thought. Then a second more could be heard starting up. Because of the particular shape of the village of Otter Lake, a bulge of land surrounded by water, sound carried quite a distance. It seemed the whole world was waking up to the lure of duck for dinner. Damn, where's that Charlie? Keith groaned in frustration. Never really caring about his Charlie fell, Pierre turned towards the lake that was hidden by trees and took a deep breath. The aroma of pine, fresh water, wood smoke, and all the familiar sense of home flowed into his lungs. Can you smell that lovely breeze? It carries the memories of this land. Almost immediately, a pair of headlights turned to the hunter driveway. The tardy Charlie finally arrived. Keith grabbed up all his gear, made his way down the short flight of stairs. Pierre watched him go. I'll take it. It must be a ride. Keith threw his stuff in the back of Charlie's truck. Waved his hand. He waved to say goodbye to Pierre, who remained staying on the porch. Gotta go. Best get some sleep. Don't want you to be sick and dying in the basement. Once more, Pierre smiled his closed-mouth smile. I'm on my way to bed as you speak. Good luck, sir. Duck was a favorite of mine as a child. He wouldn't do and disappeared inside. As Keith slid into the passenger seat, Charlie asked, who was that? Doing up a seatbelt, Keith's reply was, just a guy staying in my basement. Charlie put the truck into reverse and started backing on the driveway. Looks kind of weird to me. Yeah, he's from Europe. Chapter 13. It was Saturday. Kiffy had it all planned out. It's going to be a full day. Breakfast with Granny Ruth, maybe some television, and of course, one or two phone calls to Tony. He'd back up to the store, just something to do. Maybe get some junk food her grandmother would never buy for the house. Try she might. Tiffy could never convince her pickles were just junk food, too. Pickles are cucumbers, and cucumbers are vegetables. They're good for you. Here, have a pickle. Some sour cream chips will hit the spot. Tiffany finished off her 2 pancakes, knowing the annoyance that they're almost out of maple syrup. Her father, no doubt. Since he had quit smoking, coffee and maple syrup were his weaknesses. He even tried pouring some maple syrup in his coffee, with mixed results. It created necessary sweetness, but the aftertaste was too much. Regardless, he was happy to have tried the experiment. Should there ever be a sugar shortage in the village, he knew he could survive with just maple syrup. Granny Ruth took Tiffy's plate away to wash. So what do you got planned for today, young lady? Nothing much. Granny Ruth snorted. There's one thing I learned in all my years. There's a world of difference between a 16-year-old's nothing much and a 74-year-old's nothing much. To me, when I say doing nothing much means it's going to get done. When you say it can mean anything, so how much of nothing much do you plan to do today? Tiffany loved her grandmother's screwball yet functional logic. It's probably what made her Granny Ruth. And as always, she was right. Visiting, talking, stuff, drying the dishes. She gestured Tiffany put them away. Stuff, huh? Always stuff. I had stuff to do when I was your age. Same stuff too. Visiting, talking. I guess stuff never gets old. Just people who do stuff. Tiffany smiled. She thought there must be a book in these kind of observations somewhere. A sort of elder's handbook. Tiffany tried to picture her grandmother getting into trouble, hanging with her teenage girlfriends, all the stuff she did. But try as she might, she could not imagine Granny Ruth as anything but her widowed grandmother. Granny Ruth had been married only once in her life for 43 years till her husband, Albert, had died of cancer. She missed him terribly, but knew there was nothing to be done about it. She had her precious photos of him, some of his clothes still in her closet, and the ring he gave her on their 20th wedding anniversary. He had been too poor to buy her a decent one when they got married, so he tried to make it up 2 decades later. For some reason, they made the gift all the more sweeter. Granny Ruth missed the long conversations they would have in Anishinaabe. He was such a good talker. Albert knew the Anishinaabe language like nobody else, just the way the English scholars knew English. But they didn't give out degrees to native people for their mother tongues. Sometimes, when she was lonely, Granny Ruth would replay conversations she had had with Albert 15 or 20 years ago, just to hear him talk in her head. Before you go off and do your stuff, Tiffany, can you please take a basket of laundry downstairs to the washer? It's too heavy for me. And be quiet, the Mr. Aaron's probably still sleeping. I heard him and your father talking early this morning. He was probably dead to the world. Carrying the laundry, Tiffany stood at the top of the stairway. The basket probably weighed a good third of her body weight. She wanted to navigate the stairs properly. She was way too young to break her neck. She was tempted to turn the light switch, but worried the sudden flood of 100-watt reality might wake their guests, regardless of his carpeted walls. Enough light leaked from the kitchen to light the stairway anyways. As always, the boards creaked ominously, as each foot established hers and the basket's weight. Dad always talked about doing something about these damn steps. They'll never do it until one of them breaks. Probably under her. She put the basket down just in front of the washing machine. Turning to leave, she saw what had originally been her new home, the Carpet Palace. Pierre Lair was in that room, sleeping. Unable to stop herself, she inched her way closer, consumed with curiosity. What a strange guy he seemed. Tiffany never met anybody quite like him. He seemed so worldly. He had a tiredness that seemed odd about him. It was almost noon and not a peep from all morning. Even her laziest relatives usually made an appearance by now, if nothing else to use the washroom. There was no such convenience down here, and she was certain he had been upstairs since she woke about 8:30. Her grandmother had said he'd been up earlier chatting with her father. Now she could only a separate soul from what was normally the circumstance would be called the door to the room. She listened intently but heard nothing. No breathing, no bed springs, no rolling over. It was silent, dead quiet in there. Then Tiffany felt the urge to take a peek. Just a tiny peek. Practically a mini peek. A peekette, in fact. Tiffany thought that you could tell a lot about a person how they slept. I just spent hours pondering the topic. She noticed her father was a restless man at night, constantly rolling and tossing, trying to find the right position to lose consciousness. Tiffany guessed that even after all this time, her father was still uncomfortable sleeping single in a queen-sized bed. Her grandmother was a lot more peaceful. In fact, Tiffany often wondered if she even moved often when time to crawl under the covers when she got up in the morning. Tiffany was somewhere in the middle. Her only major quirk being a tendency to wake up and discover an arm or a leg dangling off the bed. What did this mean in the larger scale of things? Just she was a curious sort, regardless of what her teachers told her. Tiffany was very close. Close enough to smell the mustiness coming off the vertical green carpet. The first thing she noticed was that there was no light coming from the room, only darkness. This in itself was not that unusual, considering there's a windowless part of the basement. Still, it was not darkness, like the difference between Coke and Diet Coke. It was unusual. There was still no sound. She decided to take a peek. But what she didn't know, her hand brushed the board of the carpeted door and she began to push it aside. There'd be no harm done. Tiffany, her grandmother was harshly on the stairs. I'm Dash Bizan. Tiffany jerked her hand away from the flap. She backed up, almost running up the steps across the small basement, her heart beating furiously. She could see her grandmother standing at the top of the stairs, silhouetted against the kitchen lights. What's taking you so long down there? Leave the poor man alone. Halfway up the steps, the teenagers tried to avoid looking at grandmother. She had been caught in the act. How embarrassing. I just saw a mouse, that's all. She rushed past the older woman, looking for her coat in the closet. It wasn't there. She looked harder. Coats are supposed to be in closets. That's how they're built. Why wasn't her coat in this closet where it was supposed to be? Granny Ruth watched her particular granddaughter for a few seconds as she ransacked the closet before picking up Tiffany's dark blue jean jacket from a kitchen chair. Looking for this? The old woman asked. It was indeed what Tiffany was looking for. Grabbing it quickly, she muttered a quick, curt thanks and rushed out the door. As she jogged down the driveway, she put the jacket on. Granny Ruth watched from the kitchen window. It was about an hour later when the exhausted Keith got home. As his look of late, he had no ducks to please his mother with. It had been an unfruitful morning, hung down on a cold, damp blind with nothing to show for it. Not even a small glimpse of waterfowl. Just empty sky. Now he came home to what seemed to be an empty house. Mom? Tiffany? Anybody? You could hear his voice echoing back and forth. Automatically, he reached to turn the light back and forth. The house seemed usually dark. Click, click. Nothing. Keith was puzzled. He flicked the switch a third time, and the light refused to go on. Power failure. About half an hour ago, came the voice from his mother from the other room. Keep your voice down. The Mr. is still sleeping. You'll wake him. To anybody who ever lived in the country, power failures were a common experience in the non-winter months. Usually during thunderstorms, but they could happen any time. Granny Ruth held up what appeared to be a flash in a dim light. I'm waiting for you to get home. We have no good batteries. Do you have some anywhere? Muttering himself with the continuing poor quality of the day, Keith started looking through kitchen drawers, searching for a D-cell battery, but without no luck. Ari looked. I think I'm stupid? Commanded his mother. What about those CD player thingies Tiffany's got? They all got batteries. Maja Nababin. A pretty good suggestion, Keith thought as he made his way to Tiffany's bedroom, not far behind Granny Ruth. The rack of a stubborn drawer led the old woman to her son. There Keith found multiple pens, hair clips, coins, some makeup, and finally batteries. At first, all seemed to be the AA variety. But deep in the bag near some computer disk, Keith felt the rich and heaviness of the D batteries for a portable stereo. It wasn't long before Keith had the flashlight in a room bathed in limited light. Miso got us. We've been, said Granny Ruth. Pleased that you don't see again. But no duck, huh? Didn't arrive yet, Mom. Annoyed, Keith looked over close to his desk. Then, sticking out of the history book, his eye caught something that looked oddly formal. Professional, in fact. From her school. Grabbing the book, he opened it and removed a piece of paper. His dark eyes, and if they could have gotten worse, it just did. Quickly, he started rummaging through all the other drawers and books in his daughter's room, hunting. For what, he wasn't sure. Just anything else she may have neglected to tell him. Hey, why are you eating Ishinatsun? You shouldn't be doing that. That's our private things. The old woman could tell Keith was angry, but not about what. She ain't got any private things, so she's living under my roof. He's now looking for the shelf high in her closet. What are you looking for? I think she might have covered up, said Keith, handing his mother the piece of paper. I knew it was due. I was waiting for it. He knew exactly when they issued them. Graves read the letter. It was Tiffany's school progress report, the mid-semester assessment. It was not good. Tiffany was failing practically everything in school except art. It was a well-known fact that gym and art were the hardest to fail, but somehow Tiffany managed to get a failing grade in her gym class. And the report was dated more than a week earlier. She knew her grades were bad, and she knew Keith would get mad. She hid the report. No, she couldn't, said Granny Ruth. Somebody got to reply to her granddaughter. Maybe it's that Tony's fault. You think everything's Tony's fault. Maybe it's closer to home. Keith looked at her, perplexed. Feels her home? What does that mean? Struggling. Granny Ruth took the paper back from her son. Maybe it has something to do with Claudia leaving. Being Tiffany's age, it's difficult to add your mother walking out. It's hard to study geography when that's rolling around your head. And you don't make things any better with your yelling. I don't yell, he yelled. And Claudia left more than a year ago. Tiffany should be over that by now. Fuming, Keith stepped off Tiffany's bedroom. Granny Ruth just watched him go. Are you? She said quietly. Chapter 14. Picnic tables are designed for two things. To have obscene words and initials carved into them, and for eating at the great outdoors. Darla and Kim, Tiffany's best friends, long ago accomplished the first and continued working on the second. French fries were the delicacy of the day. The two girls were in deep-fried conversation when Tiffany approached them. She could hear them clear across the road. Darla's nasal voice made her distinguishable from Kim, talking about their favorite subject, what to do when they got out of school. The minute I graduate, I'm out of here. I'm going to hitchhike across Canada to Vancouver and get a job, a better boyfriend, a life, and I'm never coming back. It was no secret that Darla was a pretty bad student, worse than Tiffany. She was lucky if she went to class 3 days a week. Why should I go to school if my parents don't care? What should I ask? To her, school was just to be a transportation off the reserve. Hitchhiking, that's dangerous. Some pervert could pick you up and kill you. Kim, on the other hand, was a little more pragmatic. Kim also wanted to go to Vancouver, but to attend the University of British Columbia. She had hopes of becoming a lawyer, although she always downplayed it. It was something, it seemed a little bit ambitious for a girl from some obscure Ojibwe reserve. I'm going to take care of myself. Think of it. No winter beats you around. Christ, I could leave tomorrow. I still think you're crazy. Darla smiled and taunted her friend. You're just afraid. Afraid of dying, of being raped and murdered and left for dead in a ditch somewhere in the Rockies? Yes. All three would just spend hours debating their future lives. But Tiffany was the only one not to quite so set with her future plans. Like her friends, she wanted to explore the possibilities beyond the reserve boundaries. The road out there was not the road out there, not here. The idea of more school, let alone intense university type stuff, Emily did not appeal to her. Maybe a job somewhere down the road. She knew she'd have to make some tough decisions. That's what tomorrows were for. They were having fries at Betty's Takeout. It needed to be fried or even better deep fried. It could be found here. This was the nexus point for all teen life in the res. The fries weren't the best, but at least they were always away from prying parental eyes, and that was good. Hey, what's up? She asked. She grabbed a ketchup-laden fry. Both girls glanced at Tiffany. She sat down, near responding. What did I miss? Asked Tiffany. Finally, it was Kim who spoke. You missed last night. We waited for hours. Where were you? Four eyes were on Tiffany. Oh yeah, sorry about that. I was out with Tony. Tiffany tried to grab another fry, but Kim pulled the tray away. We were supposed to get together. Yeah, added Darla. We just had a party to go to. You're right. I should have phoned. Like I said, I'm sorry. Kim nudged Darla. Always Tony. Tony, Tony, Tony. Darla asked in a serious fake British accent. And how is it, young Anthony? Great. Tiffany answered enthusiastically. Well, good for you. Yeah, good for you. Tiffany could tell this wasn't going to be easy. You guys are mad? We waited for hours. Yeah, hours. I'm really, really sorry, Tiffany offered. Darla and Kim looked at each other, silently debating where to let up. Then slowly, Kim slid a tray of fries in front of Tiffany. Once more. A peace offering of sorts. Thanks, said Tiffany. We never see you anymore. Yeah, I know, Tiffany said sheepishly. You know people are talking about you two. Peter, talking? Talking how? Kim shrugged. You and Tony. You know. No, I don't. What about me and Tony? Well, Tiffany didn't mind being the center of attention. She did hate being gossiped about. Yeah, I heard too, said Dara. Just people getting around here talking like you are two of an odd couple. Tiffany had a flashback to the previous night at the bush party. This wasn't just them. Everybody on the res, too. What are they saying? Stuff? What stuff? Tiffany was becoming impatient. Just stuff. Tiffany's eyed her two friends for a second, deciding on a course of action. Well, I don't care. Let him talk. I'm happy. Tony's happy, and that's all that matters. She looked cross-eyed defiantly. The two girls looked at each other and said hesitantly, "Is it bad?" Dara shook her head. No, it's just nothing somebody from Otter Lake goes out with somebody from Bay Meadow. Not a whole lot of people do that. So people are wondering and talking about it. That's all. Nothing should be worked out about. Hey, we're running out of fries. Should I get more? Kim dropped the topic too. So what else is new in your life? You're with your boyfriend. Asked Kim. With no romance in her life. She was more than willing to live through someone else's, but there was an odd tone to her voice. Like she knew the answer to her own question. Tiffany smiled. Even though life sucked, she'd been smiling a lot lately when it came to Tony. Always fine, still yummy good. They all laughed at that. The bracelet she had given Tiffany was dangling on her wrist. She kept rotating it, often without even being conscious of it. Dara notices. Well, you know what I heard? Julie Baines, you know from school? She's wearing a bracelet just like yours. Isn't that right, Kim? Kim nodded, adding, word has it. Immediately, Tiffany's ears, heart, and other vital organs perked up. Julie, who 28 hugged last night, had a bracelet exactly like hers. Had to be a coincidence, so Tiffany tended not to believe in coincidences, especially when it came to Tony and a cute girl. Highly suspicious. What do you mean, like my bracelet? Darla leaned in conspiratorially. Well, I heard that Mr. Tony Banks used to go out with Julie a long time ago, but her father made them break up. They were too young or something, but her parents got divorced, and now she lives with her mother. And now she has a pretty bracelet too, a solid gold one. But hey, what do I know? Tiffany glanced at Kim, who merely nodded, sadly acknowledging Darla's news flash. What if it was the bracelet Tony had said was for his mom? News like this deserved direct action. And Tiffany was in the mood to take it. Kim, give me your cell phone. Curious, Kim did as Tiffany asked, and Tiffany started dialing Tony's number. Smiling in anticipation, Darla leaned forward, laying the last two fries in the tray. Tiffany could hear a distant sound of his phone connecting, ringing, and then being answered. She heard Tony's voice. Turned away to try to speak to him. Tony, this is Tiffany. Yeah, I'm using Kim's cell phone. Well, that's why. Pause. Well, I'm just talking to her and Darla. She said, Julie's what? Tony, I'm sorry. Darla mouthed the words. He's blowing her off to Kim, who's silently chuckled to herself. Okay, I'll leave back to work. I'll talk to you later. Tiffany pressed the red button on Kim's phone. Connection went dead. She looked up and saw the two girls watching her. Well? They said in unison. Nothing. Tiffany shrugged. He's at work. Couldn't talk. Couldn't talk, they both echoed almost gleefully. I don't know what make you so happy. Kim answered. Siri's about ditching us. And not even telling us you were ditching us, added Darla. Tiffany got up to leave. Where are you going? Asked Kim. I don't know. Home, I guess. Her day, which had started with so much promise, had gone spiraling out of control. Darla and Kim watched her go. What do you think? Asked her. Trouble, Kim answered. Big trouble. They watched him disappear around the side of Betty's takeout. For a moment, they were touched by a feather of regret. Any little mean? Asked Kim. Darla's only answer was a shrug. It was safer than telling the truth. That's what end for now. you have to read chapters 15, 16, and 17 on your own. Now, a lot happens in those chapters. So we look at chapter 15, the quick synopsis. Tiffany runs into Pierre in the woods. Then you have a bit more about Pierre's. Chapter 6 is Pierre going through the woods and then meeting different people of Otter Lake. And then a big fight between Tiffany and Keith about how he invaded her privacy. And so, and you have Tiffany storms out of the house and goes and meets up with Tony. So that's chapters 15, 16, and 17. We are not going to read it in class. We don't have the time. What I do want to do is look at our lesson. We're looking at lesson 7 today. So start to look at relationships. So look at relationships. So what you want to do is below the four different relationships in the novel for key question 23. Your task in this question is to look at the parts of the novel that we've read so far. So in chapters 1 to 17, and describe the type of relationship and the key events and developments that have occurred in that relationship. The answers can be done in point form. Relationships that you will explore are Tiffany and Tony, Tiffany and Keith, Tiffany and Pierre the Errant, and Keith and Granny Ruth. It's worth 5 marks each and can be done in point form. So I'll do a quick example here of Tiffany and Tony. Before we look at key question 24. So Tiffany and Tony. So you can do it just in point form. So I'll do it just like this. And I'll do it in red so it's easier to see. So I can say they have a romantic relationship in the novel. They met at school. And are in a unique relationship in that they are an interracial couple, which causes some and challenges. Now, if you wanted to, I'm not going to do it for this example because I gave you some of the question, but I encourage you to list what are some of those challenges and issues. And then another point is Tiffany suspects that Tony Julie Baines and ex-girlfriend. 3 points there. You want to try and get at least 5 points per couple. So at least um, one more point with issues and challenges, and then you could look at what else could or predict what you think might happen with their relationship. So think about that. So that's just one example for this. What do I want to do now? I want to give you about 5 minutes to get started with this question. And then we will look at key question 24, and then that's where we'll end. Then we'll look at 25 and 26 on Wednesday. So take about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back to this at 3:46 or 5:46. So I'll talk to you then. Key question 23. So you just want the example we did with Tiffany and Tony. Try to explain the relationship between those other characters, between Tiffany and Keith, Tiffany and Pierre, and Keith and Granny Ruth. So leads to key question 24. And this is going to be a critical point in the story because Tiffany is having trouble in all areas of her life. Think back to lesson 3 with the idea of the good wolf and the evil wolf. It isn't always easy to feed the good wolf when you have troubles in your life. And Tiffany's already doing some things to feed the evil wolf. So she's yelling at her father and putting herself down as a student. Your task is to think of 3 things Tiffany could do to feed the good wolf and 3 things she could do to feed the evil wolf. Explain how these actions will feed each wolf and be sure you write in sentences. Copy the following chart and use it to organize your answers. So if you missed that lesson or you forgot, this comes from the prologue of the story, which is on page V, which is the beginning right for chapter 1. And what the prologue reads is, one day, down by a slow-flowing river, an ancient Anishinaabe man was sitting under a tree, teaching his beloved grandchildren about the ways of life. He said, inside of me, a fight is going on. It's a terrible fight between 2 wolves. One wolf is evil. He is fear, anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, competition, superiority, and ego. The other wolf is good. He's joy, peace, love, hope, sharing, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, wisdom, friendship, empathy, generosity, caring, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you, inside every other person too. His grandchildren thought about the story for a few moments. Then one child asked, Grandfather, which wolf will win? Which one is stronger? The old man smiled and said, the one you feed. So that was our prologue. And so to think about the good wolf and the evil wolf within this. So what are 3 things that Tiffany can do to improve her actions or feed the good wolf in this story? So what are 3 positive things that she could do? Examples could include spend more time on her schoolwork, talk to her father instead of yelling back and forth at each other, not letting her temper get the best of her. And what can you do with evil wolf that would feed that evil wolf? So things like dropping out of school, running away from home, things like that. What are some things? So you want to write 3 things for each side and then explaining. You get 1 mark for telling me what she could do, and then 3 marks for explaining what those or how those actions can help or can cause this change to happen. So that's what you want to think about. And that's what will end. Remember, we have no class tomorrow. So it's the chance, no class tomorrow, chance to get caught up in some of the work you may have missed. We will have, if we can, try and finish reading the novel or get as much done as you can. And also try to complete any of the key questions we may have not have completed yet. If you have any questions, I will be in the office tomorrow morning We're not leaving until 1 o'clock from Sioux Lookout. So with that, I will be in the office till probably about 11:30 or so. We have to go over to the grocery store, pick up some stuff. But we will be available. I will be in the office from about 8:30 till probably 11. And then I'll be away. I won't have access to email, phone, or Facebook while I'm in Pekanchicum. My cell phone doesn't work there. But I can be reached when I come back. You can send me a message or an email or leave me a voicemail, and I will get back to you after that. So I'll talk to everyone again on Wednesday at the same time. Till then, have a good night, miigwech, and bye for now.